Staff confirmation that Kansas Open Meeting Act required notice has properly provided and it was confirmed by Ms. Nelson.
Yes.
Do we vote?
No.
Okay. All right. So can we get a roll call?
David
Starting.
Powell.
David Powell.
Do we got a roll call?
Yeah, David
Yeah,
Powell.
David Powell.
Are you here?
I'm here.
Okay.
Present. I'm nervous.
Lisa Oakes.
Here.
Brad Daly.
Here.
Claire Mullen.
Here.
Margaret Finger.
Here.
Kathy Maston.
Here.
Taya Smith. Bill Rawson. Youth on Board Ethan.
Here. Okay, next on the agenda, the city staff is going to present.
Yeah, they're gonna present regarding the SED program. So Rachel, if you wanna, yeah.
I'm Wayne Pruitt, Communication Supervisor for Salina Police Department. Several months ago, I was in front of this advisory board, and you guys asked me to do some research and asked me if we had any such program for people with disabilities. At that time, I told you we didn't have anything, but I told you that we would research that and see what we could come up with. Well, we completed a lot of research, and we did a lot of looking at other agencies, and we found one down in Oklahoma, and we really like their program. They also use the same computer-aided dispatch software that we use. So really all we did was copy what they're doing, and it's called the SED program, and the SED is Special Needs and Alerts Identification Program. We launched this 2 weeks ago, I believe, with a news release, and then we put it on Facebook, and we were on KSN News, and I believe Rachel and my shift lead, Amber Pfeiffer, did a public safety announcement through say it again?
Through Salina Media Connection.
Salina Media, and we've had a pretty good response so far. We've got right at 40 applications that we've entered into our computer-aided dispatch system. And what we're doing with this is people are going online, and they are able to enter their child or family member as someone with special needs, and this can be anything. This can be hearing impaired, sight impaired, autistic, you name it, and we will not turn any application down at all on this. So we enter the person with all their special needs, and then we'll also turn around and turn the location in. So if we go to that residence, we know immediately that there is a person in there that needs special attention. That can be fire, EMS, or law enforcement. And we also, under the person one, we do attach a photograph. Now on the location alerts, we will be sending emails back to the person that generated the alert on them within about 60 days prior to expiration. It will expire 1 year from the date of entry, because we want you to update your location, because people will move, and we don't want to be making mistakes going into houses and when we shouldn't be going into them. Questions about this program?
Is there an email reminder at the end of that 1 year, or?
Yes, sir. We are using a database now that we'll go in and we'll enter the day of entry, and then it'll put an expiration date, and 60 days prior to the expiration you'll get an email, and then 30 days out or another 30 days later you're going to get a second email.
And they have to do something to renew it then?
They have to do something to renew it. They can put no changes or something, and because it's going to generate an email back to me. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to touch that, and I'm going to reset the expiration date on that.
Okay. We are promoting this with our students at the Central Kansas Cooperative in Education and at parent-teacher conferences next week, so we're giving a good push.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I had a church that had something here this last weekend, and they asked for 150 flyers, and we produced those flyers for them, and we have brochures out there that they can pick up. Rachel has created brochures on this. I've had several other counties and agencies within the state of Kansas that have asked for the information so that they can try to duplicate what we're doing. So it is a very, very good program for us.
I know we discussed, and it sounds like y'all are doing a lot of outreach as it is, but we also discussed maybe something being on a utility bill that everybody in the population receives.
Rachel,
And that's going to go out this, later this month for next
awesome.
month.
All right. Thank you.
I read through the application after I saw the news a couple weeks ago. I thought it was very thorough and excellent. I mean, it covers everything, so.
Yeah, and everything in that whatever somebody puts in an application within our computer-aided dispatch, I'm copying and pasting everything that they're putting in there. I'm allowed so many characters. Sometimes on a couple of them, I've had to abbreviate a little bit, but we're not leaving anything out.
How is the first responder notified? Is it through a computer system, or is it over dispatch if they're notified of?
So we will not air anything over the radio over this at all. In dispatch, if it's a location, it comes up with an icon within our system, and it says there's a set alert, and it's just called set in there, and we can open that up and it tells us everything that's going on. We will turn around and we can send mobile messages through a secure network to the first responders that says check your alerts, or we can copy and paste what's in the alert so they don't have to fumble around. We can just copy and paste it into a narrative and they can read it. And then the photographs, they can certainly pull the jacket up on that person and get the photograph of the person.
And that includes EMS and firefighter?
EMS,
everything.
fire, and police.
Okay.
And in the county, the deputies, we also have some for in the county that they can see the same thing. But nothing will go out over the air. I don't think it's anybody's business. We want the privacy there to ensure that the integrity is there.
And this is for Salina citizens, not Saline County?
Salina and Saline County
And
both.
Saline County both, okay.
And I would probably suggest that if people are bringing their children here for school from out of county, don't be afraid to send it to me. Because what's to say they're
That
not going to
happens.
wander from school? Because the school calls me, they may say that this student has left, but we didn't have the photo or anything. But if they've sent me something, if they're out of county, I can certainly put the person in there. I can't do the location because the location is of no value to me because we're not going to be going to them outside our county. But we can certainly do it on the person.
Hello, I'm Brad Nelson, Chief of Police. I can say when I first heard of this, because it started down in dispatch, and that's how you want ideas, because it's a great idea. One thing I'm really pleased, it's completely voluntary. I mean, it's not the government. This community is not quite as concerned, but where I came from was it's not the government just compiling information. We won't have the information unless you provide it to us. I love the idea that it's purged every year because information gets so stale as far as where people live, and it does purge every year. That's a really good thing. And the fact that it encompasses the whole county. It's not just, I think somebody just asked that, there's 8,000 or some folks out in the county that it assists them too. So overall, I don't see anything negative. The only thing I would like to say is, as far as what Wayne said, we will make every effort not to put it out on the air, okay? But we are humans. The dispatchers are human. They may make a mistake. But the number one first intent is to put it over the MDTs is first. But if you have turnover, it could happen where we put it out there, we don't mean to. I'm just saying, if you heard that, there was no malice intent. It was a mistake we made, and it could happen. But every intent is to do it over the CAD system, the MDT system. That's just all I would like to add, if you have any questions. This is the brains of the operation.
Yeah, okay. Rachel Constantino. I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator for the City of Salina. I just wanted to also let you know some of the other things that we've done to get this program out in our community is it's going to go in the USD 305's newsletter and also in the Central Kansas Cooperative in Education's newsletter. And as well, the Parks and Recreation Department Special Populations Program, all of them have been notified of it. If you have any ideas for me in ways to reach our citizens that need to know about this program, certainly get a hold of me. I'm in the city manager's office.
I would recommend the DPOC programs, the OCCK choices would be good referrals.
What was the first one you said?
OCCK.
Did you say something with D?
Oh, DPOC is a generic term, Disability Programs of Kansas.
Organization of
David can
Kansas.
talk about this much better than I.
Disability Planning Organization of Kansas.
Okay.
They work with a lot of IDD.
Okay.
And in our area, it's OCCK and Choices
Okay.
Network, and then possibly Special Olympics as well.
And then we'd be happy to put it on our Salina United Way newsletter as well and on our website, so.
And we're going to do the same in Independent Connection. We'll put it on our newsletter, on our website as well.
Okay.
And you talked about the schools. Does that include like the cooperative? That
We're
Yes.
pushing it.
Yes. I've been working with Jennifer Bradford on this.
And it's in our newsletter already, and then, like I said, those of us who work in special education are going to make a push over parent-teacher conferences next week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We appreciate that so much, you guys.
Well, thank you guys for explaining all that. That's some good stuff. I think the next thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes. Has everyone got to look over them? I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay. Motion or vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Am I doing that right, Evelyn? Am I on the right track?
I think someone else has to make the motion because you're leading.
Oh, yeah, I make a motion that's a first, and then we need a second, I guess, too.
It has to be someone else
Not
that
the
makes
chair.
the motion.
I'll make a motion to
Yeah.
approve the minutes.
And I'll still second it.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. The next up is new business. It looks like,
We did that.
It's okay.
okay.
We're on 4.1.
And I got about
It's
an
your
hour
first
heads
time.
up
It's
that I'm
okay.
chairing this. I had no preparation or anything. I just found out earlier. All right, so unfinished and other business. Chair Roshan discussed the fact that it would be more efficient and transparent for the board to work on projects during regular and/or special meetings rather than having subcommittees. Do we have any discussion on that?
I think that's from, that's from minutes, yeah.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
All right, so we're on work plan approval.
Which
That's
she
right.
gave
Okay.
us the work plan.
So I can go ahead and go through the work plan. I've just kind of refined it a little bit from the last time we were here, and changed a little bit since when we were at the last meeting, we didn't, know that the SED program had already started. So basically, I kind of tweaked that one. So for goal number 1, I changed it to creating that program, from creating that program to assisting in marketing the program. So I thought that kind of made, that was just a logical progression of what we were already working on. So I said as an objective, inviting the first responders to the meeting to discuss the program and marketing needs, which we've already done. And then the second would just be assisting in marketing. So I think that, we can continue to develop that. And it sounds like there's already a lot of that going on, and we can discuss some further, ways to do that. So that's goal number 1. Goal number 2, educating and informing the community regarding accessibility concerns. We talked about working with independent connections to create education materials for the community, working on promoting the AAB through brochures, flyers, etc., provide accessibility-related information during meetings, and then completing 2 outreach activities with local businesses. So that is goal number 2 in the objectives. And then goal number 3, continue to monitor accessibility concerns within the community by working with the City of Salina departments to assess accessibility concerns during initial project phases, attending Parks and Rec board meetings as needed, and then continue to address accessibility complaints within our community and work on updating the transition plan. So I kind of, based on our last meeting, kind of combined some of the things we talked about, combining 2 of those goals, and then I just kind of streamlined it. And like I said, I changed goal number 1 based on the SED program initiation. So does that look okay to everyone, or do you want anything to add? Anybody have any concerns or questions?
As far as to resolving ADA complaints, we talked last time how we don't even know about the complaints.
Okay.
So I don't know did you say you were going to look into that or something, if we can maybe get...
Like a training? We could do like a...
No, if we could get some of the information without
Yeah, if we
giving
get-
the
if we get
complainant's
complaints-
name or any
Oh, that's
information.
Or not even the
that-
name, just the complaint itself. That way we
Right.
know what to do to address that. Not that
Had
specific incidents,
5
but that
parking
area.
complaints, 5 ramp
Right.
complaints.
Because we don't know what we're fixing if we don't know what's happening.
Right. Okay. So when we get a complaint in our office, I'm sorry, I did think about that and I didn't address that in here. But when we get a complaint in our office, it has to stay confidential. But we can give like a summary of kind of, there's because we do give that information during an HRC meeting, and that's at a public meeting. So we can say there's a complaint and the basis is disability. So we could give that general information. The basic thing that we could do is kind of give you that information and then let you know when it's been resolved. And I think that's typically been the practice at AAB meetings, is to when an accessibility concern has been resolved, to let you all know that. I don't think in the past that the actual complaints have been done, but I think that's something that we could do to let you know there was a disability complaint and it's been resolved.
Yeah, or just what category it's been under.
Yeah.
Is
Under
it-
disability, because that's pretty broad.
So the basis, we can give the allegation too, so it could be like reasonable accommodation or something like that.
Okay.
I can
Yeah,
work
we don't
on.
need the business name or anything like that. I mean, for confidentiality.
Right.
but
Yeah.
Just
The problem.
I can work on developing a plan to do that on a consistent basis whenever we have a disability concern.
like how many would that average throughout a month? Are you talking one
It
complaint?
might not
or-
be. It might not be. Every month. It just kind of depends on. I can let you know when the complaint is in our office, and then as far as resolution, it just really depends. Like that could take for a particular case, it could be in our office for several months before it's resolved. It just really depends, or it could get conciliated and be gone within a month. It just really depends. It's a case by case basis. So you might not get any information 1 month, but as they come along, I can work on developing a plan to do that with that general information.
Okay. I think they give us a little bit of direction as far as the areas that we can improve within the community.
Okay. And then we could also do, like a special meeting and kind of talk through that complaint process so that you know what that looks like when someone comes in our office and they have a complaint. Whether it's housing, employment, or public accommodations, and the basis is disability.
I have a question.
So,
So do I need to go through that process over the traffic light situation?
the traffic light situation, I need to talk with you about that.
They
got a little-
actually corrected the ones on the intersection of Iron and Santa Fe. Those are working correctly. I
Okay.
crossed all 4 corners, and those look really good.
Oh, well, that's good.
So I'm not sure why those were fixed and not all of them were. The ones at Walnut and Santa Fe are still not working correctly. So if whoever corrected the ones at
So
Iron and
basically,
Santa Fe.
if I could tell them to replicate the repair that they made on Iron and Santa Fe
Yeah.
on all of them, then we would be
Yeah,
good.
then it'd be
Okay.
good, yeah. Yeah, they're nice and safe. It's very intuitive. It's not exactly like the ones that I've seen before, but it's intuitive enough because it's silent when you approach, which is what it's supposed to be. And now when you push the button, you get a low chirping and a wait. A voice says wait. And when it's time for you to cross, it's almost like a drum sound or running feet sound
Okay.
that lets you know to cross. So I think anyone who's had orientation and mobility training as a blind person would know, would be able to use it correctly,
Okay.
the way those are set up. But the other ones are still shouting at the top of their lungs.
Okay, I'll get with engineering and make sure that they know that. And
So
then-
thank Dan, so I'm assuming
Okay, yeah.
that's who worked, I didn't, he called me, so I didn't really have any way to contact him.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm assuming he's the one that corrected the one intersection.
Yes, I believe
please
so.
thank him for me. And
I will, and I'll work with them to replicate that with all of them. Okay?
thanks.
Sure. We have some comment from our director, and you're the boss, so you go right ahead.
Mr. Chair, I was just wondering if you were taking comments on
Sure.
your work plan. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been in meetings most mornings, so I haven't had a chance to touch base with Evelyn, but there were two things I thought of when, and just kind of listening to you, but also having reviewed the work plan, is I think something that would be very helpful is to hear from the board about maybe populations that you think need to understand or be educated about disability issues. That helps staff to kind of be aware as we cross paths with those populations, particularly right now doing census work. It is really helping to broaden our outreach network and really understanding kind of those different networks that are within networks within the community. And so from your perspective as subject matter experts, understanding maybe what populations aren't understanding some of the concerns that you have as a board would be very helpful, because then as they're doing their work, we can start to understand maybe how to make some of those links. So when you say we want to communicate more, we want to market more, just even knowing who you think we need to be having in our purview is very helpful. And then I think the other thing is the complaints that come in and are managed through cases is kind of one way to get that information. But one thing I haven't seen the board do in a while is maybe to do more of a proactive approach of maybe working with Rachel, who was just here, or even us, is to get maybe some type of survey monkey out there and just asking people, what is your perception of accessibility within the city of Salina? You know, rather than waiting for somebody to feel like they don't have access, there's probably all kinds of things that people run across during the day that just kind of give an overall perspective. And kind of the flip side to that is, if you think that we have certain areas of our community that are exceptionally accessible, but people don't really know that, the other thing is also communicating that to like Salina Visitor Bureau, because I think people forget that when people travel, they're asking questions ahead of time. Would I feel safe there? Would I feel comfortable there? Would I be able to access things there? And so that might be something also, once we kind of feel like we know those resources and we want to put that back out there, that might be one of those subgroups of people who come to visit our community to understand where they would be most comfortable, or likewise what we don't have and we maybe need to work on. So those are just my thoughts in reading your work plan.
That's a good
Thank you.
idea, being proactive instead of waiting for the problem comes up and trying to fix it. Okey dokey. Next, we have the annual report discussion, I believe.
Oh, we can approve this.
Oh, all right, so can I get a motion to approve the 2020 work plan? Or do we need to talk about anything regarding that before we?
I think what was just brought up, I can kind of include that in goal number 2 as part of the outreach, to
As an
keep that in our mind,
objective.
that's part of our outreach is.
I like the Survey Monkey idea too. We just need to come up with questions to be placed on the Survey Monkey.
You know you have to pay for the results, right?
No, we don't.
Oh, you don't? Okay, yeah, since you're government, okay, yeah.
I know the
Yeah.
guy at the camera's gonna get frustrated if I don't sit somewhere that I can be on record and on camera. So, no, we have an account, so whatever you guys come up with, I mean, we pay for that service, so we can make that available. And we can also make it available so that you guys can put it onto whatever social media you have in your organizations and encourage that to be shared. Plus, Rachel is amazing at kind of knowing our different social marketing networks, so we can spread that information there. And we can choose how long you want to do it for, 3 months, in perpetuity. We can check on it every few months, however you want to do that. There are a lot of different options.
All right.
Yeah, I would make a motion to approve the work plan and under goal number 2 and the objectives to put number 5 and that we come up with a survey.
Okay, I can add that for sure.
All right, so you motioned. Can we get a second?
I'll second, but with the exception of, we also come up with groups as well that we want to specifically target
That was already done.
to figure out,
For each objective.
not necessarily each objective, but just to target, how to market to them and things like that. Right, yes.
All right.
I know we just started now, but does anyone have any off the top of their head that we can market to? Demographics, that is.
Well, I'm sure David can speak on this, but OCCK Choices and Independent Connection can give you a good starting point
Network.
in regards to what demographics to market to, so.
Yeah, we do. I know we can send a Survey Monkey off to our whole directory, which includes Deepak. Who else? KDADS. There's a bunch of different organizations, and not only organizations, but we have a bunch of consumers we can send those out to as well, and include that on our Facebook page, and even maybe a link from our website to that as well. Of course, I'd have to get that approved from our director, but I don't think she'd have a problem with that.
Do you think there are certain populations that just are not aware of some of the concerns that you may have as a board? And maybe part of that question is like, how do you get information to them? Because it's not true. I'm going to take buses, for instance. Let's say bus drivers or taxi cab drivers in our community just were not aware of the number of people in our community that have disabilities and how to maybe accommodate that so they could have a better customer relationship.
And I wouldn't say that it's that they don't know. I think it's that they don't necessarily always have they know, but they don't know who to point them to. So to elaborate on that more. So they do know about it, but they're not always certain where to point those people to. So I think being able to get that kind of information to them would be really beneficial. And I know Evelyn and Julia have come and talked to them before, but maybe scheduling an additional time to go meet with them and really, once we kind of get that information put together, sharing that with them so that they know where to point people to.
And I'm not trying to pick on OCCK because they have been very proactive about this, but I'm just trying to use an example of, like, even Uber drivers. Let's say we had a lot of Uber drivers in our community, and for instance, people with autism, if they just pulled up to a house differently or how they interacted with a customer differently would make that experience so much better. They probably don't even know that there's a board like you out there that could maybe help to market that information. And I think that's sometimes, we talk a lot to people who already kind of know about what we're talking about. My question is, and one of the things that's really kind of come to light as we're looking at the census, is there are a lot of people out there in these kind of different groups that just don't know, even though it seems really logical they should. So my question to you as a board, is there groups out there that are interacting with people that it's having an impact, but there's like a disconnect, right, in them maybe understanding the needs or the situation?
One of the ones I would look at would be residential contractors. I would love to see small, simple things with universal design that could be done either in houses or in remodels. It's not always going to be full-blown accessibility, but just some simple design things in new homes that if people do it now, it's pennies on the dollar compared to having to retrofit a home.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that's through how you meet with the contractors to just get them to think about that and talk to their clients that are building homes, or through the builder show, the home show, having a booth there, just talking about some of the simple universal design.
Yeah, home contractors is a perfect example. And you guys don't even have to think of the solution of how do we get to them. We can do that, and bring that stuff back to you. And that's kind of like those things that we can do in a meeting, but that's the perfect type of category. So, I mean, any more of those that just kind of really ring a bell?
I'm trying to think more on the transportation side of it, but that's so broad because there's Uber, there's Lyft, there's your community taxi cabs. I don't even know where the top to that would be because they're all different entities.
And like I said, you guys don't have to have an answer right now, and even if things come up a couple meetings from now, but I know sometimes as a board, having been a board member, not of this board, but others, sometimes you kind of struggle to figure out how do we get this really important message to people. And we often interact with people who already know our message. And I think this one is, one of the things I've noticed in being kind of part of this conversation is there are a lot of people who just don't understand. And trying to find them and I think the contractor is an excellent example. I said it in a really excellent session at a national planning conference. It was talking about how you create urban design environment for people with autism. And I mean, something as simple as a parking lot having clear walk paths, because just the whole concept of that kind of chaos of cars moving around and not having a secure, safe place to walk is a very intimidating situation. But then the conversation went to, well, what about this disability? And a clear walk path seems like a very logical thing. Like, why actually we aren't making that part of ADA compliance? And that's hard to do at a city level. But the whole audience of engineers thinking differently about space, planners thinking differently about space, parks and rec designers thinking differently about space. These are all populations that are very aware, but weren't necessarily being marketed to on how to address some of these issues.
There's, one of the churches in town is doing a sensory-aware celebration event on regular intervals. I mean, would they be somebody to make a contact with to kind of examine, what they're seeing as their needs are, or?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent one. I mean, I was also thinking about landlords too, kind of on the same line of contractors. But I mean, as a city forming relationships with organizations that are doing that, I mean, maybe that's an opportunity for partnership to kind of more spread that information, to get other people to, I mean, awareness is just, it's really like a first big step.
Mm-hmm. I think this group could talk to civic clubs in their meetings. Mm-hmm. They're always looking for speakers just to come and talk about, especially if we had an objective we were trying to get, and then go and talk to, because those are people that own businesses. And
I think even just the concept of the variety of disabilities that are out there, that are under the ADA umbrella, it's very easy to think of cutouts on curbs. Yeah, that's something. But the autistic population needs different concerns, and yeah.
I know St. Francis is trying to get a sensory room put up in their building. So we at Independent Connection, I mean, we advocate for people with disabilities, but as far as specifically geared towards autism or specific disabilities, I couldn't tell you. I have a son that's autistic, but then again, I know it works for him. I'm not sure it would work for everybody, but is there someone that we can maybe get that's geared towards autism? Maybe St. Francis has a person, or we can get them to have a booth at the housing summit or something to that nature.
OCCK also has a new autism department.
No, OCCK then.
Yep, so.
Yeah, and I
can get
think
you contact for that.
The Survey Monkey is, or even maybe a focus group or something, really getting people involved that are affected, and like, they might not know what the law is, or they might not know what their rights are, but they know that they have felt wronged, and they know what part of the community is doing that to them. So then I think that that's another way to kind of extrapolate that information of finding out, like, who doesn't know, because it's not always that people are doing things intentionally or trying to hurt people, but it's just because they don't have that information, and then people are, in the long run affected by that. And so like I said, I think the Survey Monkey, or like a focus group or something like that, to get people to hear people's voices, about how they are truly affected in the community.
Well, and maybe one thing is, it's doing like maybe one kind of disability area a month, so you'd have 12 for the year. And I think sometimes people are very intimidated about what they can do to help. And so maybe even just kind of some public service announcements that we can put on social media, or some good graphics that we can have made that says, since we're talking about autism, I can use that one. Do you have a customer who's autistic? Do you have a student in your class? Do you have a coworker? Here are some things that can make an environment more approachable. Or do you have a coworker with a disability? Would you like, how do you start a conversation about to make the workplace more comfortable for them? A lot of people don't even know what do the first words out of your mouth need to be to kind of put an olive branch out there to say, I want to understand how to have a more comfortable work environment for you, but are also, I'm going to be really honest, kind of fearful of either hurting someone's feelings or making it awkward or uncomfortable. You guys could really build some bridges on maybe helping people how to have that conversation, whether it's through visually impaired or, a physical disability, some of those different things, and we could kind of just take them kind of 1 month at a time. That also might jive with, a Survey Monkey, where you're still getting feedback about those things, and that might help to kind of taper that conversation.
Yeah, just really focusing on, like, that inclusivity. I think that's what's important for this arena, is just inclusive, like, so that people feel comfortable telling you too, not, telling you what they need, and, and you don't feel, ashamed or burdensome. This is what I need. This is the accommodation that I need, and create that culture, that environment that people can thrive in, no matter who they are, or whether they have a disability or whatnot.
What would be the process of coming up with that survey? Do we submit the questions?
Yeah, that could be a great homework item if you guys want to come up with some questions, and you guys could send those to Evelyn and Julia ahead of time so that you could have them to look at in your packet, or you guys could just bring them to the meeting and talk about them. I always like it when you submit them in the packet. One, it's helpful for the public so that they are aware of what you're talking about in advance. And then two, we can kind of amalgamate them for you guys, so then you've got them in front of you to look at. But I think that's what Evelyn was talking about, is use your meetings as work time. You got great minds in one room, and so you guys can get creative at that point and kind of have a lot of the discussion, and then we've got a little bit of time in between your meetings to work on some production stuff.
And that kind of segues into something I was going to discuss later. Since we're not going to really change the structure of the actual meetings, we're going to make special meetings to kind of go in tune to what we're planning on doing. So maybe that can be a discussion at our next special meeting, which I was planning on doing. We meet every 3, so maybe next month we can do a special meeting to discuss that further, to come up with questions. Does anybody agree or disagree with that?
Sounds like a good work session.
So everybody come to that meeting with a list of some questions, then we talk about them, and
We're just ready to come up with.
okay.
I know we're all busy, so we can use that as our work time too.
So there's 2 technicalities as kind of the partly pro person in the room I want to throw out there. So if you want to have a meeting and make a decision, you're going to vote on something, that is a special meeting. You can take action. If you are just going to have a study session and you just want to talk things through, we still advertise it, but you shouldn't be taking an action in a study session. You can provide guidance to staff, but like voting on something shouldn't happen in a study session.
So if we came to a study session with some questions that we think we'd like in a survey and hashed it out amongst ourselves, and then stopped, and then took it to our next meeting? Would that be okay, or?
I don't think you guys need to take a formal action as a group to tell staff we like these 6 questions.
It's a study session.
I think it's perfectly fine if you do a study session, I would have you submit your comments or your questions for the survey. Staff can compile those, they can be part of your packet. We're still going to produce a packet, post an agenda, all that goodness. But when you guys are meeting, you can kind of narrow down your selection, and you're simply giving staff guidance. We like questions 2, 8, 12, whatever. And then when you come to your next meeting, we would have your newly prepared survey. And then at that time, I think it would probably be reasonable to make a motion as the board that you accept the survey as presented and would like to move forward with implementing it.
So the formal way of saying this then is we need to have a study session meeting instead of a special meeting? Okay.
Yeah, so Parley Pro person, though, is hold off on that amendment. You guys have a motion and a second that probably should just be seconded, if you don't mind, Claire, and then the motion is on the table. You guys can discuss, and I think the point Claire was trying to make is, I'd like to add some of the additional things or have us figure that out, which can be noted. You make a friendly amendment to amend, essentially you'd make a friendly amendment to amend the work plan as discussed. You would accept that as maker of the motion, then you guys can vote again. Sorry to make that exceptionally complicated, but it would be legit. So your motion's on the table, so discuss, I guess at this point, what it is you'd like to do with your work plan. What do you want it to be? Or if there are formal changes that you need Evelyn to know to make.
So I know for the objectives, we're going to add the SurveyMonkey
Okay.
issues.
As objective 5,
Under goal 2.
under goal 2.
Right.
And then I mentioned targeting those specific groups like contractors and things like that.
Okay.
So do we want to word it as targeting them or identifying who to target?
However, either way, you're still
Doing it.
going to target them, so.
Okay.
And then maybe we could just even add, I think it would capture all the rest of it, is at the bottom of the work plan, saying in relation to the majority of our outreach and marketing, we're always looking for new networks or populations who could benefit from the information we're trying to share. And then just throughout the year, stuff happens. We can identify those and maybe make them more specific in your next year's work plan. That just kind of keeps it nice and open. So with the 3 suggested amendments made, does the maker of the motion accept those amendments? Does the second?
Yes.
Okay, you have an amended motion on the table. Mr. Chair, you could either take a vote or continue discussion.
I say we take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion approved.
So at this time, if you'd like to make a motion to set up your special meeting, this would be a perfect time. I also want to remind you guys, if you want to set things like setting another meeting date, we don't do in study sessions because you're not voting, remember? So it's just one of those things you got to think like a couple steps ahead. So if you, let's say, oh, no, we don't need to vote like at this next one and a study session's going to work, but you need to set up a meeting to meet again before your next meeting, you can't do that in your study session. So,
So we could do the study session and then just keep the normally
Yes.
scheduled next.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
Yep.
already. Okay. All right, so I'll motion that we have a study
I
session.
don't know that you can.
Nope.
I'm going to move that we have a study session prior to our next regular meeting in order to work on the survey.
Do we need to have a date figured out before we do that?
yes.
Okay.
What days of the week work best for you guys? Do you guys like Thursdays?
Well, that's not good. Yeah, we gotta stick with.
I know Kathy, don't you have trouble on Thursdays?
Thursdays are bad for me.
Yeah.
First Thursdays.
I know for Kathy, Thursdays are bad. Do we have anybody else that Thursdays don't work for?
Well, that's what we have there.
Well, if you're having just a study session, though, they can meet
Oh,
in
we
a
can-
side room.
That's right, or 105.
Correct.
Okay, so
We can, it's
It's
much more
open.
open.
Yeah, it's a little bit more open. So But they're still a public meeting. They still get advertised, so we just have to make sure it's somewhere people can access. It might just not be on TV. But the packet would still be available, so those types of things are important.
Okay. So if one member cannot attend, do we need to decide on a day we can all attend, or is that just the way it is?
You can kind of just work through it and pick a date.
Kathy, is there a better day of the week?
For a better time.
Wednesdays are good, just about any day except Thursdays. Those are always busy.
Okay, so y'all want to do a Wednesday? Claire?
That's fine.
All right. Let me pull up my calendar to see, and we're doing this next month, correct? So March? I already know I'm going to be open. some
How
other way.
about this? This would probably be the easiest way without trying to sync up everybody. How about maybe the motion would be for staff to initiate, or the
Kind of throw
direction.
some dates out there.
Yeah, the direction of the commission would be for staff to find an ideal date in which to schedule a study session for the month of March.
And then everyone can send out the Survey Monkeys that she done. Yeah, perfect.
So
Okay.
that at least lets the public at this point know that you're doing a study session and it would be somewhere in March. So if somebody saw your minutes or saw this video, they would know to contact Evelyn for more information.
Okay. All right, so
Do we need to make a motion for that to direct staff? I move that we direct staff to find a appropriate date for us to have a study session in March and location.
Second.
some motion approved. Are all in favor of motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Is that right? I promise I'll get better at this. This is the first time you train.
It's your first time. It's okay.
On nervous.
We weren't expecting
All
Bill to be
right.
sick today.
Okay. So this, we move on. The next actual meeting reminder is on May 7th of 2020.
Oh, we're going to do the annual report discussion, 4.2.
Yep. Okay, so now we'll do the annual report discussion.
All righty. So every year we do, an annual report for the board. So I'll just kind of go through the report, and if you have any questions or concerns at the end, just let me know. So we have, we listed 3 accomplishments for the board this year, and that is coordinated meeting with first responders regarding the SAID program. And the second one is AAB representative attended Parks and Rec board meetings. And then the third is assisted with providing input for park projects. And then our goals are going to be help to market the SAID program, continue to monitor accessibility concerns within the community, continue to educate community on accessibility, and then increase the number of meetings per year. And that is just with you all having the knowledge that you can have special meetings and work sessions. So that those are just kind of as needed. And then I think that, here we go, sorry. And then we always do an attendance kind of roster, so I'll go through that. For Bill, he had 100% attendance. He had 3 meetings that he could attend, and he attended all of those. Jake, 100%. Jake is no longer on the board, but we still counted the meetings that he attended in 2019. Jack Davis had 33%. He attended 1 out of 3. Christy Marco, 1 out of 2. That's 50%. Kathy, 2 out of 3, 66%. And Kathy's email didn't get updated, so she missed a meeting because of that. So it's not her fault that she missed that meeting. Jan had 50%. Brad, 100%. David, 100%. Claire, 100%. Dr. Finger, 100%. Taya, 100%. and Lisa 100%. So that is just a snapshot of everyone's attendance for 2019, and we'll see hundreds for everyone up there next year, right?
Yep.
So I think that's it for the annual report.
Does everybody know what this report is for?
No.
Okay.
Sorry, thank you.
No, it's okay. And Evelyn's kind of new at this, and if I get dragged in lots of different directions. Our department actually has 7 boards and commissions. So on top of the city commission, like every week, we manage somewhere between 2 and 3 other packets running out the door. So I get to spend a lot of time doing parliamentary procedure and at different meetings. So all boards within the city of Salina have to produce this same report, just based on the activity of their board. And the idea is that they're made available to the city commission, so as whether it's mayor or members of the commission, they understand the activities that happen in the board, they understand how often those boards meet, and really maybe that's one of the questions on there is what would you like the city commission to know in this upcoming year is for them as they do strategic planning and things like that to be aware of the concerns or thoughts of the boards. So these are all compiled and then submitted to them and they get them annually. So it's not just you guys, everybody's got to do it.
All right. So is this where we go to 4.3?
Should they make a motion to accept the plan or?
If it's going to the commission, probably should.
Yes.
I think it would be good.
I'll make a motion to accept the annual report.
Sound-
Second.
So motion approved. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against, same sign. Motion approved. All right.
I did want to add one thing. I wanted to let you all know that Jack resigned, so just that you're aware of that.
So does that mean we're looking for another person then to fill, or
Well,
no?
it'll, whoever applies and based on how, the clerk kind of takes care of that process, then someone will be appointed eventually. I think they kind of work in cycles. I think the next one might be like April, but it just depends,
Okay. And I have a question on that. I don't know if this is the appropriate time to bring it up, but I know a couple months back, there were some members that were confused on their term running out. And I know Bill's term is running out soon. What is normally the procedure? Are we supposed to hold ourselves accountable of when our own term ends, or are we let know that, or are we informed that prior, or how does that kind of work?
I was under the impression that you were informed. Because I'm working on this board now, I'm going to try to, keep that up to date and inform you as soon as possible when your term is expiring.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I definitely need to prepare next time I'm running a meeting.
Yes.
So that'd be nice to know. Because I
Okay.
know Bill's is running out, and I don't know exactly when.
Okay. I will get that information and let you know if your term, when your term is, kind of give you a reminder.
Awesome.
If you
Okay.
are questioning when your term is up, if you go to the boards and commission portion of the city's website, and you can see members, and then each of you are listed there, and it says when your term expires.
Oh, that's how I
So
need to
even
know
if you
then,
need a
probably.
quick reference.
Okay.
And then whenever you're down board members, it's perfectly acceptable for you guys to talk to people that you think would make great board members and let them know this is an ideal time to submit an application. And you can do that completely online on the city's website.
Okay.
So it doesn't like get them higher up on the list or anything, but it's always nice for the mayor to have a good handful of people to look at. And just let them know too, like, you're allowed to choose more than one board. So if I submit an application to be a board member, all of them are listed at the top, and you can click however many interest you. That can be a great thing if you're really open to that, but if you want just to work for one board or be part of just one board, tell that person they should just really click that one. Otherwise, the mayor will notice, and this is all mayors, that there's a couple different places that person might work. So maybe if they have less applications here, but more applications here, but this person said, well, hey, I would do that too, they might end up getting somewhere else. So, not that I don't love it when everybody chooses lots of different boards. But I think sometimes people don't realize that when they submit their application and wonder why, like, hey, I have a lot of expertise here, but I got put on this.
Okay. All right, so.
I had one more thing. It's been brought to my attention that Special Olympics, and this was something that we mentioned in our last meeting, Special Olympics is getting some pushback about some teams bringing their teams to Salina, to the alley, for bowling tournaments because of the parking situation over at the alley. And I drove around it 3 times today to see where in the world, and there really is, well, there's no parking anyway, but there really is not handicap accessible parking. And the type of tournament that they would be talking about brings in about 120 bowlers, 300 people, usually about 24 individuals in wheelchairs that would be coming in for their tournaments. And so that's a good amount of business for the town. So just I wanted to bring that up.
Okay, that's on my to-do list, is to reach out to them. So I will definitely get with them before the next meet, or the next study session.
Okay.
When is that proposed
I
tournament?
don't know when that tournament is. I did not get that date.
Or is it even planned, or they would like to come here?
No, it's planned.
Okay.
And they also do bowling every weekend, and Choices Network has a group that does bowling as well. Okay. So and the bowling alley itself does a nice job of making the act of bowling be accessible.
Okay.
It's the parking.
Just the parking.
So one thing we might be able to do is if you could maybe give contact information for the event coordinator to Evelyn. Normally, it's like a public event, or like we would call it a special event permit, occurs for something that's taking over the streets, or this is all happening in the building, but all things that are within the C4, which is the downtown district, do not require them to put parking in, because that's kind of part of downtown. You've got all those public lots, but if we have something special like this, maybe what we need to do is work with Public Works through a special event permit, and I think we could maybe, we do it for other events, is actually like designate additional parking for handicap because of the event. Okay. So maybe that strip that's aside the building that's running along that north side of Santa Fe through the intersection is maybe we put cones out that have signs that say these are part of a special event and they're reserved handicap only, and figure out how many we need to have additional van access and things like that. And the special event permit would probably make the most sense because we could handle that kind of parking lot closure and stuff like that through that.
Okay. And so a good thing to do would be to have their representative contact you, Evelyn.
Yes.
And let you know when they are going to have this large number of folks come through. Okay.
Yeah, I'll try to coordinate that, them working to get that permit.
Okay.
Yeah, because we can get some details then about number of handicap parking spaces they need there and things like that. Since it is just a one-time event, I think we can do that because we close them off for races and things like that. So it essentially is a special event.
Okay. I will share that information.
Thank you.
Do we have any other discussion? All right. Then that brings us to our reminder for our next meeting, which is on May 7th. We don't need an approval on that, do we? Okay. All right. Public forum. Do we have anybody out there that wants to say anything? Going once, going twice. All right. So do I need to give a motion for adjournment? I'll give a motion for adjournment.
Second? Anybody?
Second.
We don't need approval. All right.
No, you should say
Adjourn.
all in favor.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Adjournment approved. All right. I'll get there. I promise I'll get there.
It's your first time.
Yeah, all right.
You did a great job.
Thanks for coming, everybody.